You know, the next superpower, it probably won't be decided by armies or even oil. It might actually be decided by whoever creates the smartest machines. Welcome to The Explainer. I'm so glad you're joining us, because today we are diving headfirst into what is absolutely the most critical arms race of the 21st century. Look, we all know the AI revolution isn't just about fun chatbots or neat software updates anymore. It is a massive, and I mean massive, physical, economic, and geopolitical battle for control of our future. So today, we're cutting through the hype. We're going to follow the money, the concrete, and the code. Let's get right into it. 1,300 times. Wrap your head around that for a second. That is exactly how much NVIDIA's revenue from data centers and AI has exploded over just the last 12 years. We're starting right here because we have to establish the sheer, unprecedented scale of this hardware boom. Just over a decade ago, NVIDIA was pulling in, maybe $57 million a quarter for the sector. Today, they are hitting over $75 billion per quarter. They're gobbling up around 85% of the entire global market for AI chips. This one number basically proves it. AI has rapidly and aggressively replaced traditional resources to become the world's absolute most valuable technology. And hey, it's not just NVIDIA riding this wave. We're seeing absolute shock waves sent across the entire global supply chain. Get this, Samsung just reported a massive 1,800% jump in profits. 1,800%, and the direct driver of that insane growth, you guessed it, soaring AI chip sales. Because these chips, they are literally the new oil. They're the raw foundational resource you absolutely have to train and run these complex neural networks. When you're looking at profit jumps of 1,800%, it tells us one thing loud and clear. Every major tech company on Earth is scrambling. They are panic buying every piece of silicon they can get their hands on just to make sure they aren't left behind in the race. Layer 1, the physical realm. Because while AI often feels like invisible magic, it actually requires an unbelievable amount of physical infrastructure in the real world. Think back to early 2014. These GPUs, graphics processing units, were basically built to make your video games look amazing. Back then, data centers made up a tiny, almost negligible 5% of NVIDIA's revenue. But today, that script has entirely flipped. Data centers and AI are now over 90% of their business. It's wild to think these chips evolved from rendering gaming graphics to literally becoming the engines of the global economy. Ever since ChatGPT dropped in late 2022 and kicked off this mad dash to deploy AI, this revenue has been doubling every 11 months. And the physical infrastructure needed to house all these chips, it's scaling at a pace that we've honestly rarely seen in human history. So tech giants are pouring concrete, and they're doing it fast. Meta, for example, is dropping billions right now on their first AI data center in Canada, which is going to be their biggest one outside the US. But here's the thing. This massive physical footprint is causing a lot of friction. You've got thousands of locals actively protesting these new data centers. And you can't blame them. They have severe environmental concerns about the immense amounts of power and water these facilities just completely drain from local grids. And at the same time, this intense economic concentration is completely altering our cities. Take San Francisco. The sudden influx of unbelievable wealth from AI workers has pushed the median home price to a record $1.7 million. So yeah, this AI boom, it's not just happening in the cloud. It's actively, physically reshaping our geography and our local economies as we speak. Layer 2, the US-China duopoly. This is where the battle shifts from the hardware on the ground to a high-stakes geopolitical chess match on the global stage. If you look at the data from OpenRouter, which tracks the world's most used AI models, it reveals a pretty stark reality. Building top-tier AI, it's almost exclusively a two-player game. The United States and China are completely dominating the board. The rest of the world is, barely registering. Sure, we see a tiny little sliver for Canada with Cohere and a small slice for France with Mistral AI, but make no mistake here. A technology that is absolutely poised to dictate the economic and military future of the entire globe is currently the product of just two nations. But check this out, because the balance of power within that duopoly is shifting, and it's shifting fast. In early 2025, China-based companies had just 5 models in the top 50 most used list. But fast forward to May 2026, that number skyrocketed to 20 models. So while the US definitely still holds the majority, their presence has notably declined, while China has just aggressively eaten up the charts in a little over a year. Chinese tech giants like DeepSeek, Alibaba, and others are matching the pace of American innovation stride for stride. It has officially turned into a neck-and-neck sprint for artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
And this rivalry goes way beyond just who can build the biggest data centers. It's a fierce, ground-level fight for the absolute top minds on the planet. Nature recently reported that a Nobel-winning chemist actually left the United States to go direct a brand new AI materials lab in China. And this isn't just a one-off. It's happening amid a highly coordinated campaign by China to aggressively recruit top international talent, which, by the way, is happening right alongside funding cuts to certain sciences back in the US. So the AI war, it's really not just about who has the most silicon. At the end of the day, it's about who can attract and keep the brilliant human beings that are actually writing the algorithms of the future.
Layer 3, friction, fallout, and risks. Because moving at this breakneck speed, it creates some incredibly severe security vulnerabilities. Consider this for a second. The Pentagon recently had to issue a really stark warning to Microsoft, literally calling their actions a breach of trust. So what actually happened? Well, a stunning investigation by ProPublica uncovered that Microsoft was using China-based engineers to run tech support for the U.S. Defense Department. Just think about that. Giving personnel located in a primary geopolitical adversary direct access to the IT infrastructure of the U.S. military. It's wild. Following that investigation, the Pentagon completely banned tech vendors from using China-based personnel for these kinds of digital escorts. But it really highlights the massive, glaring cybersecurity vulnerabilities we face when global tech companies become this deeply intertwined with national defense.
And look, it's not just the military dealing with these intense hurdles, it's actually hitting the consumer tech that we use every single day. We recently saw the White House intervene directly, citing major cybersecurity concerns, which actually delayed the release of OpenAI's latest ChatGPT model. Because as these models get exponentially more powerful, they're capable of generating hyper-realistic deepfakes, writing malicious code, even automating cyber attacks. Governments are feeling forced to step in. The mad dash to release the newest, shiniest AI is now slamming headfirst into federal regulators. And frankly, they are terrified of what might happen if these tools are weaponized before we even know how to defend against them.
Finally, we absolutely have to talk about the other massive friction point right now, the data war. It's a classic standoff. On one hand, you have AI companies that basically need to scrape and ingest practically every piece of text, image, and video ever uploaded to the internet just to train their models. But on the other hand, the creators of all that data are finally fighting back. The New York Times, the Daily News, and a bunch of other media outlets are currently urging a federal judge to sanction OpenAI in this super high-stakes copyright fight. These news organizations are arguing, and they have a point, that AI companies are building trillion-dollar empires by essentially strip-mining their copyrighted journalism for free. It's a huge deal, because if these AI giants lose access to this high-quality human-generated data, their models could literally just plateau. So let's bring it all together. We're watching hardware revenues scale up by 1,300 times. We're watching physical data centers consume our electrical grids, all while massive lawsuits threaten the very data pipelines these systems rely on. And above all of that, a tightening, fiercely competitive duopoly between the US and China is racing to build the ultimate artificial intelligence. All of this leaves us with one final, vital question to think about. As this technology rapidly reshapes our economies, our militaries, and our cities, who really controls our digital future? Is it the governments? Is it a handful of tech CEOs? Or is it the machines themselves? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.